What if the wildest stories ever put on film were not hidden in mainstream cinema, but buried in the grindhouses of yesterday? What if the films the world once tried to bury are the same films that inspired one of the most influential filmmakers of our time? These are dangerous reels filled with panic uproar and forgotten artistry. Tonight, we unlock 14 exploitation films recommended by Quentin Tarantino and the truth waiting in their shadows. Number 14, Switchblade Sisters. 1975. Switchblade Sisters entered theaters like a sudden storm. Critics dismissed it as reckless and loud, while Grindhouse fans praised it as bold and unfiltered. The film carried a reputation as a dangerous portrait of teenage rebellion, a story pulsing with reckless loyalty, turf wars, and raw street energy. Viewers stepped into a world ruled by the Dagger Debs, a girl gang fighting to survive in a city that feels ready to swallow them whole. The narrative follows Lace Maggie and Patch, three leaders bound by friendship, betrayal, and fierce pride. Their battles unfold across high school hallways, alleyways, and safe houses, where alliances rise and crumble as fast as tempers flare. Every scene breathes with energy, giving audiences the sense that the city itself is cracking under the weight of conflict. But controversy trailed behind the film. Some theaters refused to screen it, claiming it glorified youth violence. Community groups protested outside cinemas, demanding its removal. Rumors spread that certain scenes were trimmed in smaller regions due to fear of encouraging delinquency. Though never fully banned, the film faced suppression through limited distribution, leaving audiences whispering that the studio wanted it forgotten. Behind the scenes, chaos brewed. The small budget stretched to breaking point, forcing the crew to build many sets from scrap. Extras walked off set during street scenes when real local gangs approached. Critics dismissed the film during its release, calling it too chaotic, too abrasive, and too unpredictable. Audiences were divided. Some cheered its raw power, while others backed out of screenings feeling overwhelmed by its intensity. Years later, Switchblade Sisters resurfaced when Tarantino championed it in interviews and re-released it under his distribution banner. Suddenly, the world revisited the film with new eyes. What once vanished returned as a cult classic, embraced for its fearless energy. In the end, the film stands as a reminder that rebellion never stays silent and forgotten stories always find their way back into the light. Number 13. The Big Bird Cage. 1972. The Big Bird Cage burst into the exploitation world with a wild blend of danger, humor, and revolution. Upon release, it was seen as one of the most daring entries in the women in prison cycle. Audiences flocked to see its chaotic world, where survival demanded strength, loyalty, and fierce willpower. The story follows Blossom, a fearless revolutionary locked inside a remote jungle prison controlled by abusive guards and corrupt officials. Inside the walls, prisoners plot escape, fighting against brutal conditions and schemes designed to break their spirit. Outside, a group of rebels prepares to strike, turning the film into a whirlwind of explosions, jungle chases, and uprising. Controversy clung tightly to the film. Some markets refused to distribute it due to its portrayal of corrupt authority. Others edited entire sequences out, claiming they pushed boundaries too far for local censors. Rumor spread that government officials in certain regions pressured theaters to reduce screenings, fearing that the rebellious themes might provoke unrest among young viewers. Behind the scenes, the production was an unpredictable storm. The cast worked in remote jungle locations where equipment frequently broke and storms destroyed sets overnight. Actors performed intense scenes in scorching heat, often improvising when props malfunctioned. Critics responded with confusion. Some dismissed the film as too chaotic, while others praised its high-energy spirit and bold performances. Over time, the film escaped obscurity. Tarantino embraced it and recommended it as a shining example of fearless 70s filmmaking. A new wave of fans rediscovered its charm and celebrated its rough edges. The Big Bird Cage transformed from a chaotic grindhouse feature into a beloved cult relic. By its final frame, the film leaves a lingering truth. Sometimes the wildest stories the world tried to silence become the ones that inspire rebellion in new generations. Number 12. Coffee. 1973. Coffee arrived with unstoppable force. Viewers recognized it instantly as a breakthrough in the world of gritty street justice thrillers. It earned a reputation as bold, dangerous, and unapologetically intense. While others dismissed the genre as disposable, Coffee pushed boundaries through fierce conflict, emotional stakes, and fearless storytelling. The narrative follows a woman on a relentless quest to dismantle the criminal network that destroyed her family. She slips through the city's darkest corners, confronting corrupt figures and exposing the rot beneath the polished surface. Each confrontation is filmed with urgency, creating the sense that justice is a fragile spark fighting against overwhelming darkness. Controversy surrounded the film upon release. Some theaters refused to screen it, calling it too violent and too confrontational. Certain regions demanded cuts for fear that its portrayal of corruption would cause public distrust. Rumors spread that lobby groups pressured distributors to pull back advertising so fewer people would see its explosive message. Coffee was never fully banned, but it was quietly restricted in ways that limited its reach. Behind-the-scenes filming proved equally chaotic. Many scenes were shot at night in risky neighborhoods. Extras walked off set after hearing threats from local residents who disliked the cameras. The director clashed with the editors about how much intensity was acceptable. Critics at the time were divided. Some praised the lead performance as iconic and groundbreaking. Others dismissed the film as too aggressive, too bold, and too unpolished. And then, the legacy changed. Years later, Tarantino praised Coffee as one of the most dynamic films of its era. Suddenly, audiences around the world returned to it, discovering its emotional power and sharp commentary. Coffee stands as a testament to the strength found in truth. Even when systems try to bury uncomfortable stories, they rise again with greater fire and unshakable voice. Number 11. Thriller, A Cruel Picture. 1973. Thriller, A Cruel Picture was known as one of the most extreme revenge films of its era. Critics called it shocking and unforgiving, while grindhouse audiences celebrated it as a bold defiance of mainstream cinema. It earned its reputation as a dangerous film that pushed the limits of style pacing and emotional brutality. Its slow-motion confrontations and icy atmosphere created a world where survival depended on the strength to face unimaginable cruelty. The story follows a quiet young woman who loses her voice after a traumatic event. She is trapped by criminals and forced into a life of despair until she discovers a path toward vengeance. She trains in martial arts, sharpshooting, and hand-to-hand combat, turning herself into a relentless force of retaliation. The film drags viewers into a cold, bleak landscape where justice feels distant, but determination glows with dangerous intensity. Controversy erupted immediately. Some regions banned the film outright, claiming it crossed moral boundaries. Others demanded heavy edits, leaving audiences with shorter versions that stripped away entire story arcs. Rumors whispered that police departments in certain countries warned local cinemas not to screen it, fearing riots or protests. The film became a secret among fans, passed around quietly through underground prints. Behind the scenes, chaos matched the film on screen. The production faced financial collapse several times. Crew members left after harsh weather destroyed equipment. Some actors suffered injuries during combat scenes due to rushed scheduling. Critics at the time showed disdain, rejecting the film as too harsh, too raw, and too bleak. But grindhouse viewers embraced the intensity, praising its fearless vision. Years later, Tarantino called it a masterpiece of 70s exploitation, praising its deliberate pacing and unforgettable style. That endorsement revived global interest. Restored editions followed, allowing audiences to finally see the film in full. Today, Thriller, A Cruel Picture stands as a chilling reminder that the most powerful stories often rise from silence and pain, carrying a truth too fierce for comfort. Number 10. Foxy Brown, 1974. Foxy Brown exploded onto screens as one of the most daring and electric thrillers of the decade. Audiences hailed it as bold, fast, and fiercely entertaining. Critics dismissed it as reckless, but viewers saw something deeper. A story of survival, justice, and courage wrapped in explosive action and unforgettable character moments. The narrative follows Foxy, a woman determined to bring down the criminal syndicate responsible for tearing her life apart. She moves through city alleys, nightclubs, and hidden safe houses, uncovering lies and confronting enemies with fearless resolve. Her journey is filled with betrayal, revenge, and intense confrontations that push her to the edge but never break her. Controversy shadowed the film. Certain markets refused to screen it, citing its portrayal of corrupt officials and ruthless gangs. Some editing boards demanded heavy cuts, stating that the film carried too much violence for general audiences. There were whispers that political pressure influenced distribution decisions in specific regions due to the film's focus on injustice and rebellion. Behind the scenes, the production was turbulent. Scheduling conflicts caused constant delays. Costume budgets ran short, leading designers to craft outfits from repurposed materials. Some scenes had to be shot guerrilla-style due to lack of permits. Critics were split upon release. Some praised the powerful central performance, while others condemned the film as chaotic and crude. But legacy always finds its voice. When Tarantino spoke highly of Foxy Brown, a new generation discovered it. Restorations followed, and fans worldwide embraced its fierce style and unforgettable energy. The film resurfaced as an icon of resilience and bold storytelling. At its heart, Foxy Brown delivers a stirring message. Even when systems try to silence the strong, the truth breaks through with unstoppable force. Number 9. Rolling Thunder, 1977. Rolling Thunder entered cinemas as a brooding, violent revenge drama that pushed psychological intensity to new levels. Audiences saw it as a brave and unsettling portrait of trauma. Critics reacted with fear, calling it too dark and too dangerous for mainstream release. The film quickly earned a reputation for its unfiltered emotion and relentless tension. The story centers on a war veteran returning home after years of captivity. He tries to rebuild his life with patience and dignity, but tragedy strikes when violent criminals invade his home. Fueled by grief and haunted memories, he embarks on a journey of vengeance across barren landscapes, neon-lit bars, and hideouts where danger lurks behind every door. Each scene burns with atmosphere, revealing the cost of trauma and the thin line between justice and obsession. Controversy ignited instantly. Some theaters pulled the film from schedules after crowds protested its stark violence. Certain regions demanded edits, claiming it could encourage real-world aggression. Rumors spread that studio executives panicked during test screenings, fearing public backlash. In some cities, the film became a whispered secret shown only in late-night slots or underground venues. Behind-the-scenes filming was demanding. The lead actor immersed himself in the role to the point of emotional exhaustion. Crew members struggled with night shoots that stretched until dawn. Production setbacks included broken equipment and constant script rewrites. Critics at the time could not agree. Some hailed the film as a bold psychological masterpiece, while others rejected it as too bleak and too harsh for its era. Rolling Thunder vanished for years until Tarantino resurrected it as one of his personal favorites. Suddenly, film lovers across the world began searching for forgotten prints. New releases were created, and audiences finally experienced its dark, beating heart. In the end, Rolling Thunder reveals a simple truth. Pain never disappears, but storytelling can transform it into something unforgettable. Number 8. Lady Snowblood, 1973. Lady Snowblood arrived in theaters like a blade slicing through silence. Critics recognized its striking beauty, while grindhouse audiences praised its fierce spirit and operatic violence. It quickly became known as one of the most poetic and visually stunning revenge films ever created. Yet, beneath its elegance lay a dangerous reputation. Many believed the film pushed the boundary between art and brutality with bold confidence that frightened distributors across the world. The story follows Yuki, a woman born for vengeance. From childhood, she trains under harsh masters, learning swordplay tactics and discipline so relentless it shapes her into a living weapon. Each step of her journey draws her closer to the criminals who destroyed her family. She moves through snow-covered streets, cherry blossom gardens, and dens of corruption, delivering justice with icy resolve. The world around her feels like a painted nightmare, where beauty and violence collide in hypnotic rhythm. Many regions hesitated to show the film. Some theaters rejected it outright, believing its stylized violence was too intense for local audiences. Certain markets demanded severe cuts, muting entire sequences. Rumors spread that government censors objected to its depiction of rebellion and personal justice, fearing it might inspire unrest. In some cities, screenings were limited to underground film clubs where whispers of its brilliance grew louder. Behind the scenes, the production was a grueling challenge. Sword fight sequences required intense choreography, often filmed in freezing locations where actors shivered between takes. The lead actress endured long hours of training to bring authenticity to every clash. The budget was tight, forcing the crew to reuse sets and improvise props. Critics at the time were divided. Some praised the haunting visuals, while others dismissed the film as too extreme for its day. Years later, Tarantino openly celebrated Lady Snowblood as a major influence. His praise reignited global interest, sparking restorations and new releases. What once struggled to find screens became a celebrated classic. Lady Snowblood stands as a reminder that great art is often born from pain and sharpened by defiance. Number 7. Master of the Flying Guillotine, 1976. Master of the Flying Guillotine stormed into cinemas with blazing energy. Kung Fu fans embraced it as a thrilling masterpiece, while critics scrambled to understand its wild creativity. Its reputation spread quickly. This was not simply a martial arts film. It was a full-scale explosion of imagination, danger, and fearless filmmaking. The flying guillotine weapon alone entered legend, becoming a symbol of danger in grindhouse history. The story follows a blind assassin sent on a deadly mission to destroy a heroic one-armed fighter. Their conflict unfolds through hidden temples, mountain passes, and secret tournament arenas where dozens of fighters clash with dazzling speed. Each duel is filmed with fierce urgency, turning the film into a whirlwind of acrobatics and power. The world presented feels larger than life, yet grounded in emotion, as warriors fight for honor, survival, and destiny. Censorship followed instantly. Some countries banned the film, claiming its creative weaponry, and intense battles were too frightening for younger audiences. Others censored entire fights, fearing they would encourage violence. There were also reports that specific regions banned posters and promotional material due to their graphic imagery. For many fans, the film became a whispered legend known only through imported tapes. The production faced constant setbacks. Fight scenes were so elaborate that entire days were spent filming a single exchange. Actors suffered sprains and bruises while performing their own stunts. Equipment malfunctioned during action sequences, forcing the crew to reshoot scenes deep into the night. Critics upon release were puzzled. Some dismissed it as chaotic, while others acknowledged its inventive action design. Time changed everything. Tarantino praised the film publicly, calling it a key influence on his cinematic style. With that endorsement, global fans sought it out. Restored editions followed, and the film surged back into the spotlight. Master of the Flying Guillotine proves that bold imagination always finds a future even when early critics fail to see its brilliance. Number 6. Five Fingers of Death. 1972. Five Fingers of Death emerged as a defining force in the martial arts explosion of the early 70s. Viewers flocked to it and declared it a daring breakthrough. Critics named it violent and excessive, yet audiences saw its heart. A story of perseverance, honor, and transformation built on powerful discipline and emotional struggle. The narrative follows Chow Chi-hao, a young martial artist who trains under strict teachers to master a legendary fighting technique. As he rises, he faces rival schools, jealous fighters, and personal tragedies that test his spirit. The journey leads to explosive confrontations, filmed with kinetic energy and unforgettable sound design. The drama blends patience with fury, and the world feels alive with tension. Controversy quickly arose. Some theaters refused to show it, fearing the intense violence. Certain regions censored iconic scenes, including the glowing hand technique, believing it would encourage dangerous imitation. Rumors circulated that older martial arts masters objected to its depiction of tradition and attempted to pressure local distributors. The film became hidden in some areas, yet flourished underground through word of mouth and imported reels. Production was equally intense. Actors performed nearly all stunts themselves, leading to frequent injuries. The director faced pressure from financiers demanding more action and faster pace. Crews worked through long nights to complete scenes that required perfect timing. Critics at the time were divided. Some appreciated its ambitious style, while others dismissed it as another noisy martial arts picture. Everything changed when Tarantino called Five Fingers of Death one of the most influential films of the genre. The comment revived interest worldwide. Restorations rolled out, and new viewers embraced its explosive spirit. In the end, the film stands as proof that greatness often rises not through perfection but through resilience and heart. Number 5. The Street Fighter. 1974. The Street Fighter hit theaters like a thunderbolt. Audiences were stunned by its raw power and ferocity. Critics recoiled at its intensity, calling it too savage and too relentless for mainstream viewers. Yet it was precisely that boldness that turned the film into legend. It became known as one of the toughest, most unforgiving martial arts thrillers of its era. When it arrived, it shattered expectations and carved its own place in exploitation history. The narrative follows Terry, a mercenary fighter with a cold stare and a deadly skill set. He sells his abilities to the highest bidder, but soon finds himself caught between warring factions. The deeper he goes, the more he uncovers betrayals, hidden agendas, and brutal confrontations that test every ounce of his strength. Terry battles through docks, rooftops, warehouses, and underground arenas, leaving a trail of shattered alliances. The film pulses with gritty energy, giving viewers the sense that danger lurks around every corner. Controversy arrived almost instantly. The Street Fighter became one of the first films in its genre to receive an adult-only rating in the United States due to its intensity. Many theaters refused to screen it. Others requested heavily edited cuts. Rumors spread that local boards debated banning it outright because they feared it glamorized violence. Some regions even banned posters, claiming they were too graphic for public display. The film became a whispered curiosity, drawing crowds eager to see what officials tried to suppress. Behind the scenes, chaos defined production. Stunt performers pushed themselves to extreme limits, performing dangerous moves without modern safety equipment. The lead actor insisted on realism, which meant taking real hits during certain scenes. Budgets ran low, forcing the team to reuse sets and improvise props. Critics at the time struggled to categorize the film. Some dismissed it as crude, while others recognized its groundbreaking style. Everything changed when Tarantino praised The Street Fighter as a monumental work. His admiration rekindled global interest, leading to restored editions and festival screenings. In the end, the film stands as a testament to raw determination and the power of fearlessness in storytelling. Number 4. Truck Turner, 1974. Truck Turner roared into cinemas with unstoppable energy. Audiences embraced it instantly for its wild car chases, daring stunts, and relentless pace. Critics were unsure what to make of it. Some saw it as gritty fun, while others dismissed it as chaotic exploitation. Yet despite mixed reviews, the film built a powerful reputation as one of the most electrifying crime adventures of its time. The story centers on Mack Truck Turner, a former football player turned bounty hunter. He hunts dangerous fugitives across the city, navigating dive bars, dim alleys, and neon-drenched streets. His journey is filled with betrayals, ambushes, and shootouts that push him to his limits. Each mission builds toward a final confrontation with a ruthless criminal empire determined to destroy him. The entire film plays like a high-speed chase where every second counts. Controversy followed immediately. Some theaters refused to show the film, believing its depiction of corrupt officials and ruthless criminals was too provocative. Others demanded edits due to intense scenes. Rumors spread that certain regions pulled advertising to reduce attention. The soundtrack also faced scrutiny, with some radio stations refusing to promote it. The film was never fully banned, but it was held back by constant pressure from groups that claimed it was too bold for audiences. Behind the scenes, production was turbulent. Car stunt sequences caused constant logistical issues, including mechanical failures and near accidents. Actors performed physical scenes in dangerous conditions with minimal safety gear. Tight scheduling forced the cast to shoot multiple action sequences back to back. Critics were split upon release. Some praised the film's energy, while others dismissed it as reckless pulp. Years later, Tarantino celebrated Truck Turner for its grit humor and explosive momentum. New fans rediscovered it and embraced its unapologetic style. Restored versions finally allowed the world to experience the film the way it was meant to be seen. Truck Turner stands tall as proof that thrilling stories cannot be held back by caution or hesitation. Number 3. Navajo Joe, 1966. Navajo Joe emerged as a fierce, unconventional Western that defied expectations. Critics did not know how to categorize it. Some dismissed it as too brutal, while others praised its daring approach. Audiences were drawn to its raw energy and bold action. The film earned a reputation as a dangerous, gritty story, set in a world where justice comes at a heavy cost. The narrative follows Joe, a courageous warrior who seeks vengeance against the gang that massacred his village. His journey leads him across deserts, ghost towns, and rocky passes where he confronts ruthless outlaws and corrupted leaders. Each scene captures wide, sun-soaked landscapes contrasted with intense battles. Joe fights with unwavering resolve, turning silence into strength and pain into purpose. Controversy surrounded the film from the beginning. Some regions banned or restricted it due to complaints about violence. Others criticized its portrayal of frontier justice. Rumors spread that certain broadcasters refused to show it on television, believing younger viewers would be disturbed by its tone. For years, the film circulated mainly among collectors and Western enthusiasts who valued its unique voice. Behind the scenes, the production faced grueling conditions. Filming occurred under blistering heat. Horses threw actors during chase scenes. Equipment broke down in remote areas, forcing the crew to wait hours for repairs. Tensions arose between cast and producers over the film's direction. Critics at the time were divided. Some admired its bold score and striking visuals, while others felt it was too unforgiving for mainstream audiences. Then everything shifted when Tarantino praised Navajo Joe as an essential piece of exploitation Western history. His admiration sparked renewed interest. Fans worldwide rediscovered the film. Restorations followed, and screenings introduced it to new generations. By its final frame, Navajo Joe reminds viewers that vengeance and resilience often walk the same path, and that some stories grow stronger the more the world tries to silence them. Number 2. The Pom-Pom Girls, 1976. The Pom-Pom Girls arrived in theaters wrapped in sunlit energy and rebellious spirit. Audiences embraced it as a carefree teen drama filled with mischief pranks and high school rivalry. Critics, however, dismissed it as shallow and chaotic, unaware that its influence would echo through decades of youth cinema. What seemed like a light-hearted film carried a dangerous undercurrent, a portrait of teenage rebellion captured with striking authenticity. The story follows a group of students navigating football games, bonfires, and the restless urge to break free from authority. The drama centers on a rivalry between two teams whose tensions explode into fight stunts and risky dares. Beneath the humor lies a portrait of a generation searching for identity and freedom. The film celebrates friendships, heartbreaks, and the wild thrill of youth. Every scene sparkles with sunlight and danger, blending laughter with tension. Controversy arrived quickly. Some schools protested the film, claiming it encouraged reckless behavior. Certain regions limited screenings or demanded cuts for fear that students might imitate daring scenes. Rumors circulated that several U.S. counties refused to allow the poster in public spaces because they believed the film glamorized defiance. The Pom-Pom Girls became a quiet rebellion, watched by young audiences who sensed it reflected their own frustrations. Behind the scenes, the production was unpredictable. Many scenes were shot guerrilla style, using real schools and real crowds without formal permission. Actors performed their own risky stunts, including speeding car sequences and rooftop antics. Budgets ran thin, forcing the crew to improvise wardrobe and props. Critics were split. Some dismissed the film as messy, while others praised its honesty and pace. Decades later, Tarantino highlighted the Pom-Pom Girls as a defining piece of 70s youth cinema. With that endorsement, new viewers sought it out and rediscovered its warmth and charm. Restored editions revealed vivid colors and natural performances that earlier transfers could not capture. In the end, the Pom-Pom Girls stands as a reminder that rebellion can be joyful and that stories about youth often outlive the authority figures who once tried to silence them. Under number 1, in The Savage Seven, 1968. The Savage Seven exploded into cinemas as one of the most intense biker gang films ever created. Critics labeled it violent, chaotic, and unpredictable, while audiences flocked to it for its raw power and fearless action. It quickly earned a dangerous reputation, a story born from the counterculture era that blended rebellion, brotherhood, and burning rage. The film felt like a punch to the senses, loud, fast, and merciless. The story follows a biker group tearing through desert roads, small towns, and hidden valleys. Their world changes when they become entangled with local residents, including a young woman whose presence sparks jealousy, alliances, and violence. As tensions grow, betrayals erupt, and the gang spirals into a series of brutal confrontations. The landscape becomes a battlefield of dust, roaring engines, and fiery clashes. Every scene pulses with adrenaline and emotional conflict. Controversy defined the film's release. Some cities banned it outright after complaints about its depiction of biker culture and lawlessness. Other regions demanded heavy edits. Television networks refused to air it for years, insisting it was too rough for younger viewers. Rumors spread that certain screenings were canceled after local authorities feared riots from biker groups. The Savage Seven became one of those films whispered about in underground circles more than it was officially screened. Behind-the-scenes filming was just as wild as the story. Motorcycle stunts were performed by real riders who took extreme risks. Cameras shook from the force of engines. Actors were bruised during fight scenes, and several confrontations had to be halted when tempers flared for real. Critics largely dismissed the film at the time. Some found it too aggressive, while others claimed it lacked structure. Then, Tarantino rediscovered it decades later. He praised its energy, realism, and explosive atmosphere. That single endorsement transformed its legacy. Restoration projects followed, and modern audiences finally saw the film restored to its grim, blistering beauty. The Savage Seven endures as a reminder that raw truth often hides inside stories the world once feared. 14 films. 14 storms the world once tried to contain. Each one survived protests, bans, and censorship to echo into the present. Their voices remind us that danger, innovation, and rebellion shape cinema more than caution ever could. Which of these forgotten legends struck you the most? Tell us below then, like, subscribe, and join us again as we explore the hidden reels history almost buried.